Hi, listeners. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm your co host, Jackie Romer, a finance intern for the greater Chicago region, but I'm working from the Battery this summer in Atlanta.
And I'm Giovanna Moreno, your other co host. I'm a sales and marketing intern working from Comcast Battery office in Atlanta this summer as well. On today's episode, we're talking about having an exciting new perspective. Jackie, want to tell them why?
Yeah, absolutely. It's our remote intern episode.
Exactly. On today's episode, we'll be discussing the virtual intern experience, which many who are part of our intern cohort have experienced all over the country. Virtual interns are in many ways right here and part of our experience and teams, all while also being remote and working from home.
Yeah, and navigating these virtual horizons is different from our intern experience in person with its own rewards and setbacks. I'm excited to hear more, and to learn more about these rewards and setbacks specifically, we'll be going more in depth in discussing this with Faidat Agbaje, a talent acquisition intern from the Central Division who has been working remotely all summer. She'll be sharing with us her virtual experience, tips for future interns, and more. Hi, Faidat. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me, and it's really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thanks for participating in this project.
Yeah, of course. I've been looking forward to it. My co-intern Esperanza, who has been working on the same project and team as me, is part of the group that writes for the podcast. So it's been nice hearing about the project from her, and I'm super excited to participate.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you have a little inside scoop into the background work that's put into this largely collaborative intern project that we've been working on all summer.
Yeah, exactly. Could you share a little bit more about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to college, a hobby you enjoy? Basically, just a classic introduction so that our listeners can get to know you.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Faidat, but everyone calls me Fi because it's just easier to say correctly. I was born in the US, but I grew up and went to school in Nigeria. I moved back 5 years ago to the US for university. For university, I attended University of South Florida, where I majored in business management with a concentration in human resources. Other than moving back to the US and moving around the US, I love traveling. Actually, I love experiencing new places, not the actual act of traveling. So far, I have been to 23 countries.
Wow, that's super cool. I love getting the chance to meet other interns in this project because of our various different backgrounds and what really makes us us. And it's also amazing that you've been able to travel to so many different countries. I've only really been within North America, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I love traveling too, but I definitely understand the packing and unpacking is dreadful.
No, I totally agree with that, especially while moving. I have moved so many times this past few years for school and my study abroad. And this past week, I just moved to Florida, from Florida to Houston, Texas. And I really, really hope I like it because I'm super done with packing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm definitely an overpacker, so I understand that. And also, it totally blows my mind that you moved mid internship. That's insane.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if I'd have the stamina to move in just mid internship. But could you share a little bit more about your team and internship experience over the summer?
Sure. So I spent the summer interning with the talent team as a talent D&I intern, participant for Comcast. And because my team is fully remote and located all over the US, I had the opportunity to completely work virtually. As part of the talent team, I spent the summer working with my co-intern, Esperanza, on a project to remake communication templates for the whole of the National Talent Division. So these templates offer communication resources for team members during the recruitment process so they can be used to communicate internally and externally, ensuring cohesive message being used. The template project is also a way to streamline communication as the division merges together to a fully functional talent team.
Okay, so because of that, do you technically have a division then?
Well, not necessarily. So I work as a part of the central division, but the team is going through some changes and becoming one national team. So it's been very insightful seeing and working through some of those changes.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so it must be nice to work on such a large team as they navigate changes themselves while you're also changing and entering the workplace in a corporate setting, especially while being remote, because you all have that sense of newness in common.
Yeah, because of that, it's been really nice. Everyone has been so supportive. I also get to see the ripple effect of our project, and I see how important talent acquisition is from the diverse perspective of each of my managers.
Yeah, and I was a remote intern last summer, so I definitely got that virtual experience. And then now being in person this summer, I see the difference. So, how have you experienced inclusivity with your team and other interns throughout your intern experience?
The experiences of virtual and in-person interns are definitely very different, but I felt like other interns have tried their best to make us feel as included as possible, especially with their project, through our Teams chat, and keeping us updated and more. The UR team also does a really good job of keeping us in the loop with virtual activities on experience days as well. And as for my team, because we're all remote and all over the US, I feel like everyone is very understanding of the dynamic. If I ever have Wi-Fi issues or a meeting time doesn't work, they're very understanding. It has also been very nice and enjoyable to experience working virtually.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that. Having a hybrid experience myself, I've definitely had to go through the challenges of my Wi-Fi not working, coordinating meeting times with my team. And overall, I've really enjoyed meeting other interns, not only in person here at the Battery, but remote through the other divisions during our breakout rooms on experience days too, just getting that connection.
Yeah, are there any ways in particular that intern experience days or other intern events have helped you to get to know Comcast better and feel integrated with the company?
Yeah, I have loved the intern experience days, especially as a virtual intern. These days help me to understand Comcast a whole lot more and the type of people who work for Comcast. The experience days also just showed me that the company really cares about us interns, whether virtual or in person, and that's just been really nice to feel. During the talks with guest speakers and in meetings, they also always make sure to address the virtual audience, not just the people in person. Someone is usually monitoring the chat on calls to make sure that all our questions as virtual interns are not skipped over or forgotten, and we're usually answered.
Yeah, it's great to hear that the program, which is meant to keep all participants virtual, in person, hybrid, keeping all of them involved is truly achieving that. And I know that the UR team will definitely be happy to hear this positive feedback.
What do you feel fellow interns have done to make sure that their virtual interns feel included and involved?
So many things actually, from little things like making sure someone addresses our comments when the audio is muffled, or sharing their views from the battery on a call, all the way to making creative ways to keep us involved, like including our perspectives in intern slice of life. The in-person interns are also very good at keeping us involved, and I think a part of that is because we have all gone to school virtually at some point because of COVID. So we all have this understanding of what it feels like to be remote, and I think that brings our cohort together. Also, this summer, I was fortunate enough to visit the Battery once during this internship, and everyone was so nice and welcoming, especially Mason Hill, who gave me a tour and showed me around the Battery and took me to see the best views of the Brave Stadium. Also, visiting the Battery helped me understand like the hype and the benefits of working in person at the Battery. The entire office is so cool and it has like little games and snacks literally everywhere. They are really good perks of it.
Yeah, absolutely. The battery definitely does have its perks, but I imagine working from home does too.
Yeah, could you give a rundown of a typical virtual workday in your life as a talent intern?
Well, I don't think I have a typical workday because my schedule depends on the stage my project is in. On some days, I clock in at 8 a.m., Teams chat with my co-intern Esperanza and prep for what we want to accomplish that day before we meet with our manager, Renee. After we meet with Renee, we have a clear picture of what we should be doing and the agenda for the day until our next meeting. We also have weekly touch points with our two other managers to share our progress with them. They give us some guidance, feedback as to what we should be doing next. If we're in an editing week where we're adding or erasing from the communication templates, we spend a lot of time on our SharePoint typing and reading. If we're revising the templates to make sure we're meeting objectives, we meet with recruiters or other important personnel and implement their commentary. We have lots of meetings that week. So yeah, it totally depends on the type of week we're having. But I do have some consistent staples, such as Teams chatting with my co-intern and meeting her daily, my meeting with Renee, and our weekly meetings with my other managers.
Yeah, I really like that you have consistency in your schedule while also having some flexibility and freedom with it. That's exactly how I am too, being hybrid. I have the times where I'm consistently meeting with everyone, but most of the time I'm able to have that time to myself to complete different kinds of projects, especially ones like this podcast. So, has this consistency but flexibility, the balance helped you as a virtual intern?
Yeah, definitely. I think it has. I can ask my manager for to start my day an hour late or earlier to have time to schedule personal appointments after work. Also, the battery is really great and all, but I love being at home and having like really close access to my kitchen. I could walk over any time and grab anything I want when I have the chance. Also, I know that if I have a few meetings and it's more of like an independent work day, I can go to a coffee shop and set up there so I can order tea and have just like a little change of scenery.
Yeah, that's so nice that you found the balance and have gotten the hang of working remotely and found a way to balance that out being virtual.
I agree. I know we have some remote days as in office interns, and those days I definitely usually just stay home.
Yeah, working remote has been really great. I literally worked one time from the airport before I boarded my flight, and it was great. If I was a fully in-person intern, I would have had to miss a day of work, and that would have been unnecessary because I still had all the tools and a quiet space for me to work and be productive as usual. I was literally just waiting to board my flight.
Yeah, I love that the flexibility has worked for you and your lifestyle. So, now for one last question. What advice would you give to prospective interns to make the most of their internship experience?
Yeah, and to just add to that, maybe give some advice for remote interns.
Yeah, definitely. So first, for interns in general, my advice would be to remember you're meant to be here. I know it's easy to be overwhelmed by expectations and what I should be doing or what I should know, but it's super important to remember that it's okay not to know everything at once. After all, you're here to learn as much as you can. And for virtual interns specifically, I suggest having good time management and organizational skills because you do work alone and you are working on your own project. It's super important to make your own agendas of what you want to do daily and get done in between meetings, just so you can keep track of your progress and just make the most of your day. Another piece of advice for remote interns would be don't fret the small stuff. Some days your Wi Fi will not work and your Teams app will definitely disappoint you, but don't be too hard on yourself. These are just things you cannot control.
Those are some great points. Thank you for joining us today and sharing your virtual intern experience with us.
Yeah, Fi, thank you so much for being here and talking to us today. And listeners, be sure to tune in for our next and final episode.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning into the Internet Podcast. This episode was put together by our project lead, Jack Uzinski, producer Darian Carter. Script was co-written by Samantha Barron and Esperanza Torres, and script editor Leah Bader. Co-hosted by Giovanna Moreno and Jackie Romer. The podcast was edited by Lauren Banks, and the graphics were created by Rabia Kang. A big thank you to our support from the University Relations Team, Employee Communications, and Talent Brand teams at the Central Division, including Janda Anderson, Ernesto Sosa, Stephanie Beard, and Renee DeSantis.
If you want a deep dive and create the future with us, please don't forget to apply this fall for a summer internship. Applications open in September, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. Stay tuned for the next episode and all season long, as we'll be bringing our best selves. See you then.